Hi, let's continue about transport phenomena in biological systems. Now we want to discuss about transport across cell membranes and among cells, and talking about the general physiological transport systems. So first, transport across cells. To regulate the movement of molecules into and through cells, we need a specialized mechanisms. So in addition to diffusion, transport is governed by interactions of solutes with specialized proteins. So ions and small polar molecules such as glucose, sodium, and amino acids have actually low permeabilities across lipid bilayers, which has a hydrophilic head, which faces to the water, and inside there is a hydrophobic part. And so these ions and small polar molecules are transported by, we need a transport proteins, either channels or carriers. And transporting larger molecules inside to the cell that by itself cannot permeate across transmembrane. That phenomena of invagination and engulfing of these molecules into the cells, we call endocytosis. Of course, the opposite is exocytosis. So this is just a reference material, but to give you some idea of the modes of transport across the cell membrane. So first you can see these gases, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and ethanol, which is alcohol, and urea, and these small uncharged polar molecules can freely pass through the cell membrane. So that's, we can see that our breathing and that respiration, oxygen, CO2 have to pass cell membrane freely, and alcohol again. And water has a small permeability, but if slightly permeable, but the bulk motion of water requires a channel. And larger polar molecule, so these are so-called passive diffusion, which means it follows concentration gradient. So gases and these can freely diffuse across the plasma membrane. Passive means it doesn't require any energy and it follows from higher to lower concentration. While a little larger polar molecules such as glucose and ions, which has a charged particle such as calcium or magnesium or chloride ion, and that requires these specialized channels or that we call facilitated diffusion, because still this will go to a favorable concentration gradient. So the membranes slightly permeable to water, but bulk water movement, this is very important, and there needs a specialized water channel called a aqua, as meaning water, aquaporins are used. And the active transport, which you can see active means, you see the famous example as a pumping molecules against their concentration gradients, such as sodium, potassium, this transporter. See, typically in, outside of the cell, sodium concentration is about 10 times higher than inside. In comparison, potassium is higher inside, intracellular, about 10 times higher than the other. And you look at these transporter, this transporter actually brings sodium and potassium ions against their concentration. So it actually requires energy, and that's what ATP hydrolysis is happening here. So that we call active transport. So let's then consider about cellular transport. So two major types of cells regulate the transport of molecules within and between tissues, and through the cell, the transport, such as in the, especially when you get into capillary. So those cells that lines cavities of organs and tissue interfaces, such as the lining, inner lining of stomach, intestines, and lungs, kidneys, liver, and secretory glands are called, of course, epithelial cells. Epi means on top. While those cells line the interior surface of especially blood vessels or lymphatic vessels. And these cells regulate transport like epithelial cells. So it belongs to category of epithelial cells. But in addition, because this one have additional functions such as regulating coagulation in case of there's injury to prevent leakage or loss of blood. And the other is the adhesion of leukocytes. So this is important for function for immune system, and that we call endothelial cells.